December 1990, outside the Jefferson County Jail.
Are you glad to be free?
A reviled predator ushered to a van, free after spending 6 years behind bars. Robert Thurett went to prison after admitting he kidnapped and abused 3-year-old Lori Poland, then threw her into an outhouse pit. The 10-year sentence on charges of attempted murder and sexual assault on a child sparked outrage.
People, getting sick and tired of criminals getting away with everything.
As the state parole board considered his bid to be released, they had questions for Thurett.
Aren't you afraid that you'll do it again?
Am I afraid of that? A little bit, yes. And that would keep me from doing something like that again.
They asked about his sexual fantasies.
They are consenting adult fantasies.
Now, what did they used to be?
They used to be non-consenting, sometimes children, sometimes adults.
And then they decided to keep him in prison. But the state Supreme Court concluded that Thurett had to be granted parole. Why? Because the law at the time required he be given credit for the good time he'd earned. When that van carrying Thurett sped off, no one had a right to know where he was headed. Within months, legislators changed that, and Governor Roy Romer signed the law that now requires sex offenders to register. As for Thurett, he ended up in California, where he was convicted of sexual abuse of another child, and where he was subsequently sent to prison twice for failing to register as a sex offender under that state's law. His current whereabouts are unknown. As the 40th anniversary of this crime approached, Lori Poland sat down with us to talk about the many ways her kidnapping and assault still reverberate in her life, both the difficulties and the efforts she's made to do good as a result of it. Tonight at 9 and 10, you'll hear why she still uses Robert Thurett's name.
Yeah, to me, having been here all this time, I remember Lori Poland's name, I think, more quickly than I remember Rob Thurett's name, but I do remember that era and the idea that the law needed to be changed.
Yeah, and it's interesting that California had a sex offender registry law, and he went to prison twice for violating it after he left Colorado.
That's the part that I think is so disturbing to people. And for anyone that hasn't lived here, and when they hear the story of what happened to Lori Poland, it's a miracle she's alive. But to know that he would go on to do this again.
Yeah, and there's a lot in his background as well that came out at that time. There were other allegations against him, other incidents where he was alleged to have approached small children on the street in the time leading up to when Lori was kidnapped. It's a tragic case, and yet people will see her tonight as an adult with a full life, a happy life, even despite some of the difficulties that she still
doing some
feels.
great things.
Doing some amazing things.
It's amazing because I think for many of us, we remember the 3-year-old, the pictures while she was missing, and then the rescue, and then we don't often follow up or find out what happens to these people who go through these ordeals, and hers was an ordeal.
Hers was an ordeal, and 40 years later, she's 43 years old. She's got a big blended family. She's got a great career. She's working on a foundation, and yet there are still aspects of this that still reverberate in her life.
Well, we'll see much more of that tonight at 9 and 10. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.